Let's get started with a tileable texture then. Man, is it ever easy. So new file, got a preset here, 1024 by 1024. You can paint them at 2048, and size them down. You'll probably never need one that big is what it boils down to. I'm just gonna go 1024 and pop this open. So I've already made one brush, but let's make a brush. So I've got this brush head that's kind of doing this dirty sort of thing. So we're just gonna do it dirt. Pretty easy. My brush tip is just some noisy. It's just, these are just default settings too. So it's just some, default settings. I changed the spacing a little bit in that, and you can play around with the spacing. It depends on how much it's going to add, so let's just turn some of these off and you'll see kind of what's going on. So there's, there's the base one, right? And so then in shape dynamics, I've got jitter size. So jitter size will just, vary the size of the brush head some. I've got angle jitter cranked all the way up so that it spins the brush head around as you paint. I then threw in some scattering, and so I'm just, doing some scatter jitter, and it's scattering the result all over the place. The next one I did was a dual brush, so I added a secondary brush head in, just something speckly. You can see what it does now. It breaks that up even more. So without that, you'll see that you're getting this. It could be what you're after, but I wanted something really sort of broken up, and that's giving me that broken up look. Color dynamics on, and that color dynamics applied per tip. That means every single time it basically samples, it will change. It'll reevaluate, I guess it is. And I've got a foreground background color jitter. So that's these two colors. So I've got these two brownish colors in here, a little slight variation of color going on. And brightness jitter, so it'll change up the brightness of them. So if I crank that a little more, it'll give me a real variation on brightness. Maybe my dark color needs to be made less dark or something at that point. And smoothing's normally on, and I think that's about it for my brush head. So, what's going to happen now is if you try and paint this into a tileable texture, so I'll just kind of fill this in and let it fill all the way in like this, and you're going to see the problem that's going to come up, and it's going to look like hell. And if you leave it like this, well, you obviously don't care, about the look and feel of what you're doing, so it's going to take one checkbox to fix this. So there's my dirt. So what does this look like when it's tiled all over, a surface many, many times? Well, all we got to do is go to View, Pattern Preview, and ignore this. Don't show this again. Just say, yeah, go ahead. So there it is there, okay? And you can see the seams. See the seams here? You can see that the seams are completely visible, and that's just going to look like hell on your work. So you can just paint now like this. So I can go and paint anywhere, and it doesn't matter where I paint. I'm going to be painting on all of the tiles at the same time and even across. So if I'm painting here, you can see it's painting on the other side. And then that means you can get rid of that tiling. So what you want to do is kind of zoom back a little bit. You don't have to worry about it too much. But you just want to kind of get rid of any kind of natural lines sometimes. And sometimes it's just sort of painting a bunch. And that's not bad. This dot's coming up. And remember what I was saying, that you got some major details somewhere. You can actually end up with more problems. So there it is, really, generic. There's my dirt. And so if we go and turn off that pattern preview again, there's the dirt I'm going to apply to everything. If you wanted to then do dirt with cracks or something, maybe we're going to add up, probably should have added a layer to begin with, but I didn't do that, did I? We'll probably want to go to some sort of other brush, and I'm going to go to something nice and round and hard here. And same thing. So I'm just going to take the brush head down, and I'm going to paint some crack stuff. So this is just going to be dirt, and then this is going to be dirt with cracks. Well, I'm going to start with the same dirt pattern so that they really blend together nicely, and also they have the same scale of texture. effectively, so that the when I mix them together, one won't look bigger than the other, right? In that relative scale kind of idea. So then all I need to do is paint in some sort of cracks, and in this case, I'm probably going to want some deeper crack lines. But if I start doing this, of course, what I'm immediately going to have a problem with is that it's not going to tile. So if I go down and say pattern preview, well, it's not tiling, and it's going to look really, really, really bad. So what if I, go ahead and, sort of put some cracks in here, let's say, just for sake of argument. I'm doing something really fast here. Okay, you go research what cracks look like. And then, maybe I use something like a bevel and emboss or a drop shadow. Maybe bevel and emboss isn't as good, but maybe, where is it? Inner shadow. Can I get away with doing some inner shadow on it? To give it some depth, maybe, some sort of fake shadow. But you got to be really subtle with that sort of thing, because it may not match your lighting in your scene. I could do a little bit of inner glow, but let's take that opacity, whatever. Again, we could just try bevel and emboss because it'll do the same sort of thing. So there's our bevel and emboss, so internal one, but, again, it just doesn't look very good. So let's take the opacity way down on these and just give it a subtle, a very, very subtle one. Shadow maybe up a bit more, and, highlights down a lot just to try and give it some depth. Maybe something like that. Who knows? So there's another one. So it is, and you can see it is tiled completely. Now, again, you got to be careful about ending up with, scenario where you put in some heavy duty, detail in one spot. It might tile completely, but take a look at the patterning that's happening, right? So you want to avoid those sorts of patterns and keep things simpler, even the sort of the size of them. And maybe there just should be really fine lines or whatever or something, right? Again, go research what cracks look like in dirt. I'm just putting lines down at this point. It's not very good. And that goes for, I showed you one with stones in it. And, you can come up with variations of things. Let me just show you the ones I did. So here I have dirt, just plain old dirt. I have dirt with stones in it. And I just started with this base and then sort of added some stuff on top. You can even see I used a square splatter sort of brush thing. You look at that up close and you think that looks just dumb. You don't even see it. And then I did the cracks. So I've got one here with cracks in it, dirt with cracks. And believe it or not, that actually looks really good. It's crazy because it looks ridiculous. I don't even think I put an effect on it to make it look like it had any depth or anything. So don't even bother until you're there. Now, again, the other way is we could blend crack maps on top. I'm not sure these look that good. I tried things, tried different things as I went ahead and did them. So, I even did that with the burning ones. They might just be up top that I just skipped by. So I've got some of these wood ones, and these match the wood ones below. And so I actually use the same maps over and over again, starting with the base wood that I had that, gave me those, that sort of breakdown format. And again, these weren't very good. These things showed up just way too often. So I got rid of them eventually in a version. I think I left one there, but even it was too much. This one worked really nicely. Then I had just tileable wood, so I could tile it over surfaces, and then I also have things like where I was playing around with things where what if I had some metals and woods together in one, so I could have one map to do anything that was metal and wood. That worked pretty good too. Again, it was just sort of ripping stuff off other ones, and I think the final wood one that's most of my woods is this one here. And I used this basically for pretty much all of my woods, and it came out looking really, really nice.